June 8th, 2007. The day Total Drama Island would air for the first time on the Canadian television channel Yeah, okay, no. I'm not writing this script like I'm trying to hit the word count on my essay. Let's just cut to the chase. So I wanted to do a series where I ranked every episode of each season of Total Drama. Then I might expand to other shows such as Battle for Dream Island, Inanimate Insanity, and Disventure Camp. And so what better place to start than the one that started it all? This is easily the most iconic season of the entire series. And yeah, the first season is a good one. I mean, what else do you want me to say? The season has lots of great episodes. So let's see how they all stack up against one another in my opinion. Just as a disclaimer though, the following episodes will not be counted in the ranking. TDI Rundown, TDI Recap, and Total Drama Island. The former two are just clip show recaps and they'd obviously be last place. And the latter is a 40-minute special meant to transition into Total Drama action, so it's not really comparable to the other episodes on this list. So without further ado, let's get started. Even before I started writing the script for this video, there was one episode I knew I was gonna put in last place from the start. And that episode is...
So, read any good poems lately?
So, asked any arbitrary way out of left field questions lately?
One of the most important aspects of an episode of an elimination show is that the challenge, or whatever gimmick takes the place of one, should feel important to the episode. The challenge does not feel important to this episode. I think the challenge was something about extreme sports and the winning team would be rewarded with a shower or something. But make no mistake, that's not really the focus of this episode. In fact, the episode seems to focus way more on Gwen and Bridget finding a love letter and trying to figure out whether Jeff or Trent wrote it. Spoiler alert, neither of them wrote it. Harold did. For Lashana, and we find this out once he gets eliminated. Hey, did anything else happen in this episode? Oh, right. This. Do I have to talk about it? Fine. This is the episode with this scene. Keep in mind, these are 16-year-olds. You know an episode is cooked when the most people can remember about it is that it has a teenage girl accidentally flashing her breasts. Wow. That's a sentence I sure wrote and said out loud. Let's move on. Oh yeah, also Trent fucking dies Lamau.
I'm warning you, my dad's a lawyer! Mama?
In Brunch of Disgustingness, they eat a lot of Chef's disgusting food. If it sounds like I don't really care, it's because I don't. Also, for some reason specifically for this episode, they swap out the iconic Screaming Gophers and Killer Bass for just having gender-based teams. That's just weird to me. Whatever, let's move on. Oh yeah, also Trent fucking dies Lamau.
Ooh, that's a point for the Killer Bass!
Oh look, another episode I don't give a shit about. Something something trust exercises, something something bunny, something something Duncan. Alright, let's move on now. Oh yeah, also Trent fucking dies Lamau.
Still, I love you.
Oh, that's smart!
To be honest, the only thing noteworthy about this episode is the Transformers reference. I guess Duncan and Heather also form a short-lived alliance in this episode. Whatever.
Hey, where's Izzy and Lashana?
This episode really only has one good scene, and you all know what it is. And if you need a hint, it's the one on screen right now. The challenge is nonsensical, and the elimination is bullshit, and let's just move on.
You know, you look good when you're cooking dinner. Kinda like my friend Evan's really hot mom.
Excuse me?
What do I even talk about from this episode? The underwear side plot? The cooking challenge? All the comeuppance Heather gets this episode? Beth's absolutely undeserved elimination? Okay, fine, there's a good chunk of things to talk about, I just don't want to. So yeah. Oh yeah, also Trent fucking dies Lamau.
Get me out of this place.
The most I can remember about this episode is Duncan making a misogynistic comment. I think that speaks for itself.
Wow, you pitch a tent like a guy. Wow, you pitch a tent like a guy?
This episode definitely has lots of funny moments, it's just, not that memorable. At least in my opinion. Also, it loses points for having Katie fat shame Sadie.
And the new age music torture?
Originally, this episode was gonna be much lower on the list. My opinion on the episode hasn't changed, per se. I just realized I liked the last few episodes I talked about a little less. This is the episode where the teams finally merge. That's cool, I guess. Oh, Eva returns this episode. So does Izzy. They waste no time sending Eva back on the boat of losers. Lashana wins a trailer this episode. It gets destroyed literally one episode later. The episode's challenge is pretty fun, except it gets done way better later in the season. Let's move on. Oh yeah, also Trent fucking dies, Lamau. This episode kinda sucks, honestly. Heather's probably at her most unlikable this episode. I mean, she even commits SA. And then Gwen and Trent are so fucking stupid this episode. This is such an obvious ploy, how are you falling for it? And then the cherry on top is Heather getting immunity. Actually, why the fuck did she even pull this stunt in the first place? We have no reason to believe Heather thought she would be immune this episode, so why the fuck would you do something that would obviously get you a lot of votes? Are you serious? Like, I get it, the villain has to have plot armor, but make the plot armor make sense. Alright, you get the point. I do not like this episode. Also, Trent fucking dies Lamau or whatever.
I'll treasure it for the rest of my life. Whatever. I can buy all the marshmallows I want now.
I did not care for the season finale. I mean, yeah, I guess if the show ended after season 1, this would be a pretty good place to end it on. At the same time though, it almost feels like Gwen regressed as a character here just to make Owen winning more satisfying. I like the little exchange Duncan and Courtney have here though, and it's pretty satisfying seeing Gwen and Trent finally work out their issues here, even if it didn't last for very long at all. And Owen makes for a satisfying enough winner, even if he probably wasn't most people's first pick to win. And the non-canon ending where Gwen wins is probably more satisfying, honestly. But yeah, the finale was alright. Don't have much more to say. Also, Toxic Yuri, who said that?
So, is Sunday out of the question? Got it?
Now here's an episode that almost feels like it should be higher. I mean, it's the episode that gave us Boney Island, for crying out loud. But the more I thought about it, the more I couldn't justify putting this any higher. The episode's still good, of course, but the 14 episodes I still have yet to talk about are just way better. So let's talk about what I like about this episode. I like how Cody's perfectly cool with the fact that the girl he likes is into another guy, and is even willing to help them get together. It's just surprisingly kinda mature for him, is all. Izzy was also just amazing this episode. Boney Island is also just cool as fuck in general. I think we can all agree on that. Otherwise, I don't think I have that much to say about this episode. It's not the best thing ever, but it's definitely entertaining. Oh yeah, also Trent fucking dies, Lamau.
Did I get anything out of this experience? No. It was completely and totally uneventful.
He kissed a guy.
No, I didn't!
This episode, we get to find out what happened to the eliminated contestants after they boarded the boat of losers, and it serves as a nice breath of fresh air from the competition, which definitely helps the episode stand out more. Unfortunately, it's also the reason I can't really put it any higher. Like, it's a good episode, but what you see is what you get, you know? Now, I could rant and rant about how stupid Lashana's elimination is and how completely bullshit everything about it is, but everyone already knows about that stuff, so I don't really need to bother. Instead, I have something else I kinda want to touch upon. You may have noticed that in many places, this episode is referred to as Haute Capture, but that really isn't the title of this episode, at least not the final version of the episode. What exactly do I mean by that? Let me show you. What you see on screen right now are some of the storyboards for the unfinished episode, Haute Capture. You see, this episode was originally actually supposed to have a challenge, with that challenge being a fashion contest. Unfortunately, this episode had to be scrapped, because they just didn't have the budget for the amount of costume changes needed for the challenge. Something I found interesting, though, is that, well, Lashana still gets eliminated in both versions. The way she gets eliminated is much different here. So basically, Lashana would have won immunity, which she would then give to Gwen, who would presumably get pressured by Duncan and Heather into voting her off. Weird, right? Okay, why is this the longest segment of the video so far? I'm grouping both parts of this two-parter together because I just figured that made sense. Part 1 is just a great way to introduce us to all these characters, and Part 2 makes for such an iconic first challenge. I mean, come on, it's the cliff dive! Who doesn't love the cliff dive? You know, besides maybe the contestants on this show. Or the ones on II. But these guys are all fictional, so who the fuck cares? Also, Ezekiel's elimination probably could have been handled better, because as is, it feels like the sexist comment was just added at the last minute to give the team a reason to vote him off instead of Courtney. I just think his misogynistic tendencies could have been foreshadowed better. Yeah. Great pair of episodes.
Gwen and Heather have squat, but not to worry.
You know, for an episode I ranked just outside the top 10, above a few episodes I said I liked, you'd think I'd have high opinions on this episode. But in actuality, I forget why I ranked this episode so high. Even in the script, I didn't seem too sure that this episode really did deserve to be this high. It's just got a lot of gross out humor that I don't really like, and I think the only real reason I did put it so high was because I know a lot of people do like it. And while I could just change the order of the list to put this episode lower, in fact, as you'll see in a moment, I have no problem with doing that to rank an episode higher than I was originally planning to. I really don't want to go back and edit so many of the previous segments. But, to the episode's credit, I did like the challenge and thought of it as a better version of the Say Uncle challenge from No Pain No Game. And I'm not gonna pretend Heather's elimination isn't extremely satisfying. I just don't really like the episode, and kinda wanna go back and move this all the way down to 16th place. But anyways, enjoy the top 10.
You're
Alright, let's go. Top 10 time. Fun fact, I was originally gonna put this episode at 14th place, but then I said, you know what, no, this is definitely a top 10 episode. So yeah, I really like Paintball Deer Hunter. It's just a fun episode all around, from the DJ and Owen shenanigans to Beth finally standing up to Heather. It's just peak, man. Honestly, Beth is the most underrated character in all of Total Drama. It's not even close. I don't care what anyone says, she deserved to win action. And I'm glad she did. Fuck you guys. What was I talking about again? Oh right, Paintball Deer Hunter. Yeah, this episode is great. Oh yeah, also Cody fucking dies, Lamau. See? I have more than one joke. This episode is pretty charming, not gonna lie. Besides this scene. This is just fucked up. Trent's love song was sweet though. This is also another good episode for Bridget. Not gonna lie, I miss her friendship with Courtney. And also her personality in general. Also, I just can't talk about this episode without talking about this.
Gosh! Awesome! What? Uh-huh.
I mean, come on, that beatboxing is godly. Alright, that's all I have to say on this episode.
Mama always said, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. In which case, Heather would say nothing ever. She is the meanest, the nastiest, the biggest cold-hearted meanie in all of Kalamazoo! No offense.
Oh, none taken. I sort of respect you for it. Never do it again.
Try saying this episode's title 5 times fast. Here, I'll give it a shot right now. Trial by I can't even say it one time fast. Anyways, I really like this episode, but I don't have much to say about it. I like the wholesome friendship Gwen and Jeff form this episode. And it's a nice nod to the original version of this show Camp TV where blah 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 shit you already know. Don't have anything more to say, so let's move on.
I love this show.
I'm sure a lot of you weren't expecting this episode to be so high. Or maybe you were, I don't know. Either way, it is. But why is this one so high? Well, to put it simply, I think these shows are at their best when the challenges get to show off the characters' personalities. And this episode is a great example of that. We've got Lashana being a genius, Lindsay being an anti-genius, Duncan forming an alliance mid-challenge, Izzy and Chef starting the greatest friendly rivalry in all of fiction, Jeff trying to continue Trent's legacy, Gwen being the most creative one there. I can't even defend whatever the fuck was going on here. And DJ and Owen accidentally picking the exact same hiding spot. Seriously, if it wasn't for the kinda weird elimination, this episode would be perfect.
Sorry, I'd invite you in, but there's only room for 6. See you at the campfire tonight.
Chris somehow finds a way to manipulate weather to create an artificial rainy day. However, these shenanigans backfire when they cause a flood, and the contestants wash up on another island. And now they have to figure out how to survive. That's it. That's the entire premise of the episode. Like I said in the last segment, episodes of these shows are at their best when they get to show off the characters' different personalities and how they clash with one another. And this episode is another great example of that, since Duncan, Gwen, and Heather all have very different ideas on what they should do. Duncan wants to wait for the producers to come rescue them, not wanting to get more lost than they already are. Gwen wants to build a raft to get off of the island and back to Wawanakwa, since as far as she's concerned, the producers think they're dead, and have no intentions of coming to rescue them. And Heather doesn't even believe they're actually stranded. And to an extent, all three of them are kinda right in a way. And so most of this episode is just these three bouncing off of one another, and it makes for a really fun time. And then there's Owen, who got separated from the rest of the group because he was in the confessional. And for most of the episode, he doesn't even know the others are here too. And so he does what any normal person would do in this scenario and starts talking to Coconuts. And thus, Mr. Coconut was born. Well, I feel I've matured past the, "Isn't Mr. Coconut so awesome, guys? He's like the best character ever, oh my," jokes. It's not to say I didn't find his inclusion this episode funny. Bro was robbed. But yeah, peak episode. Now on to the top 5.
I love Master Chief Hatchet because he is very, 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 very. This is just one sentence with 5 pages of varies in between.
It's 300 words exactly. You can count them if you want.
Basics training. Or as I like to call it, the Dunkney episode. Dunkney peaked with this episode. I'm sure we can all agree on that. Though that probably is mostly due to them completely going to shit after this season. But still, they were cute here. Plus, this episode also has one of the most iconic eliminations in the entire series, so there's that. Like seriously, holy shit, Harold. Plus, it's also nice to see what challenges would be like if Chef was the main host. Honestly, with how soft he is in the later seasons, it's very easy to forget he used to be a military guy with anger issues. There's really not much I can say about this episode, though. So, yeah.
Oh, you're going down! We're gonna bring the dinner to the table, and then we're gonna eat it!
Yeah, believe it or not, this episode isn't number 1. Originally, I was gonna give it the top spot, but I couldn't help but ask myself, yeah, this episode is good, but is it that good? And you know what? The answer's yes, but the top 3 are even better. I mean, yeah, the premise is simple, just a game of dodgeball. And so this episode is mostly comedy-based. And yeah, a bunch of funny shit happens, like this. And this. Also this. And subsequently this. Did I mention this? Harold also gets to do some pretty cool shit this episode. And so does Owen. Even Cody does something cool. Oh yeah, and whisper in to Noah for being the worst teammate ever. Why was Bros surprised he got voted off? So yeah, good episode.
Can you make the cloud go lower and pelt him harder?
You are one sick dude. But yeah.
Now for what is arguably one of the most iconic challenges in all of Total Drama, where each contestant has to face whatever they said their biggest fear was the previous night. It's such a simple concept, but it's executed so well. And it leads to some really iconic moments, like Harold being completely ready to throw hands with Ninja, or Trent outsmarting the mime, or Beth once again proving why she's the GOAT. Everything about this episode is just... it's peak. I love it. Now for another classic. The campers have to try and stay awake for as long as possible to beat the other team, all while Chris and Chef do everything in their power to make the campers as sleepy as possible. This might be the simplest challenge in the entire series, and man, it just works. Since the only thing the contestants need to do for this challenge is stay awake for as long as possible. Meaning, everything else is fair game. So we can have Heather form her little alliance here, Tyler turning into an Edvard Munch painting, Gwen and Trent being a cute couple, whatever the fuck was going on with Owen, Justin being clever, the birth of one of the most mid ships ever. Oh wait, did I say that out loud? Whoopsies. Seriously though, I could go on and on about everything I love about this episode, But then we'd be here all day. And with that, only one episode remains. So let's see which one it is.
Hey, dude, you seen an ice cream truck?
Yeah, believe it or not, this is my favorite episode of the season. Even though I'm pretty sure I haven't ever watched a single slasher movie in the 15 years I've been alive for, I just think this is a really fun episode. And there are 4 characters who I really think carry this episode for me. Those being Duncan, Gwen, Owen, and Izzy. And since these 4 characters can be divided into 2 pairs, I'll be talking about them in pairs. So let's start with Owen and Izzy. I love how these two just become a couple out of nowhere. And they have such a funny dynamic. And also, this joke is hilarious.
Oh! Ow! Hey! Ah! 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 Oh! Ow! Hey! Ah! 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 My spine!
Owen, I'm coming!
Although I kinda wish the arc of Izzy being mad at Owen for trying to sacrifice her to what they thought was a killer lasted much longer than what we actually got. But still, they were fun this episode. Then there's Duncan and Gwen. Honestly, poor Gwen, man, why the fuck did nobody listen to her? Except, like, Duncan. Like, come on, how hard was it to listen to the horror movie experts? Okay, but seriously, Duncan versus Chef was such a cool fight. Honestly think he should have tied with Gwen for immunity. If only this absolute badass didn't also have to be a misogynist. Because man, Duncan's fucking cool when he's actually fucking cool. Also, it is such a crazy coincidence that there also happens to be an actual escaped psycho killer with a chainsaw and a hook at camp on the same day as this challenge. And I love how Gwen was just able to stand up to him. That was amazing. Of course, DJ's elimination didn't really make all that much sense, but the episode's just so fucking good that I can't help but look past that, because, I mean, man. It's just so peak! So, yeah. This is my choice for the top spot. And so with that, I've ranked all 26 episodes of Total Drama Island. I've been working on this video for a little over 2 weeks now, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Let me know in the comments if I should make videos like this for the other seasons, and even for other shows like Battle for Dream Island. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Yeah, I don't really know how to do an outro.